Court
right?
to the cloud.
I hope you all saw a little dialogue box. That's fantastic.
Okay, very good. Everything looks good. Have a good meeting, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
All
night,
right.
Papa.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.
So we are starting February's meeting of Bronx Community Board AIDS Environment Sanitation meeting with a quorum. And our first order of business is to pass the minutes with a small change. I neglected to add in the attendance Myra Fraser, who attended and presented on Skyview issues. So with that, are there any other changes to the minutes? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes with that amendment?
I move to approve the minutes. Karen, did
you.
you have a question or are you?
Yeah, no,
moving?
I'm going to second.
Okay, excellent. All those in favor, yes. Okay. I'm going to run through a couple of chairs announcements. After that, I'm going to ask for some old and new business that we can come to later, because I'd like to have us know what's in store for us throughout the rest of our meeting. So my first announcement is that DEP has a new structure that's coordinated with the Mayor's Office of Environmental Justice. And I will read from you a press release from Mayor Adams, the Mayor's Office. There is a Chief Climate Officer and Commissioner of the New York City Department of Environmental Protection named Rohit Agarwala. Don't know him. Vincent Sapienza, the former DEP Commissioner, is now Chief Operations Officer of DEP. And there is a new Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice, and the Executive Director of that is Kizzy Charles Guzman. I haven't worked with, of course, with the exception of Mr. Sapienza, haven't worked with this. That's the new structure. We'll get to know it. And if you would like to read more about that, I will send you the announcement from the mayor. Okay. The second announcement is that the Department of Environmental Protection has completed a gatehouse reconstruction project around JPR. And this community board committee heard several versions of a presentation, and we also heard about the new fencing that's going around the actual perimeter of the reservoir from 10 to 4 feet. So remember, we approved that as a board, and so that's been completed, and they are announcing also that they're going to be starting the east wall construction, which is a much more controversial and contested issue for the committee. That I would really count as old business, and we reviewed and approved all those changes. I'll ask later if anybody has been around, and we can report on that. That's Deb's neighborhood. I met with the new, Stephen, what is Joan's official title? Joan Burns?
The Director of the Bureau of Community Affairs.
Thank you. I met with Joan Burns, the new Director of the Bureau of Community Affairs. And she wanted an overview of some hot button issues, larger issues. We talked about our history. I reported on our committee's history of advocacy for compost and for compost education, of course. I really stressed the need for some rethinking of maintenance and upkeep around JPR with 3 different agencies, and I described it as a master, having 3 masters and therefore none. I also talked about commercial dumping both on Bailey and around JPR. There was a tire left around there the other week, which counts as commercial dumping, and might look too big for regular refuse. We've also discussed taking a look at those the maintenance contracts that DEP uses. So that's not sanitation, but it does affect garbage around the JPR area that's within the fencing. And we talked about 242nd. So Kira and then Pablo today met with the new superintendent for the district, and they brought up again JPR issues and the 242nd. Do you remember the bus lane? The problem there was not that the bus lane was too narrow to accommodate sanitation pickup, but that there was double parking or parking there or use of that by private cars, which were supposed to be for buses and for trucks. So that was clear, became a enforcement issue. I got to follow up there. And I do want to find out if there's any more of that. Remember that problem of the merchants not being able to get pickups because the trucks couldn't make it next to the sidewalk and nobody wanted them to move the garbage bags out to the median. So I got to revisit that a little bit. Well, if anybody has any news on whether that's been taken care of. And so I just wanted, let me just make sure I have all, oh, and then there was a DEP emergency repair at Greystone 242nd and 240th. We hope anyone was not terribly inconvenienced. So that's the chair's report, and I just wanted to pause. Any comments or additions to anything I just said, on anything I just said?
I think that there was also, maybe this is why Jody's hand is up. There was the issue of I'm blanking on the street that had the undermining the DEP was working on.
Edsel,
Jody,
yep,
Edsel, thank you.
Okay.
And I think that at 242nd, that it's actually not wide enough for the full-size garbage trucks, that it wasn't entirely an enforcement issue, that there's just the garbage folks wouldn't drive into it. And it may be because it's blocked off, like it's always parked. You can't drive through it. There's always cars blocking it, but
yeah, we did hear from them, and I remember saying it was, we went through some reviewing this. We got to reopen that and go back to last year. But first I did want to find out if it's still a problem before we reopen the issue of 247.
we should, just double check with Nick. I thought that when I checked in with Nick about it back in early fall, just to see if it was something as a follow-up item to take into September. And I thought that it was kind of mostly resolved. The merchants had figured something out, that it wasn't as inflamed as it had been, but it's certainly worth checking, especially now that we've got, snow.
New
season.
superintendent, yeah.
And new superintendent and new mayor.
Thank you. Thanks, Deb. Okay, we'll go back and I'll circle around with Nick and also with the sanitation superintendent.
And one thing for the JPR list for sanitation is abandoned cars with no plates.
Oh, wow. 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 Okay. 311. Did you put in a 311 complaint about that?
Yeah, there's usually a fair number of 311 complaints about them.
Oh my God.
Individually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me know. Okay. Yeah, what I told them is that they need to rethink their borough-wide commercial dumping removal team. Remember, we heard that they have, Stephen, you told us about this. Remember that it was a deployed on an as-needed basis throughout the entire borough, and they got a lot of calls along highways, which we completely understand. But this, Stephen, you're coming back a year later, same problem. So we need some, as long as you're here, could you bring this to your group and tell them that the commercial removal process is not working for JPR. It's chronic. We get a crazy amount of large cars, tires, commercial dumping around
Okay.
Yeah, if I can add, the primary areas are Goulden Avenue, like kind of across from Bronx Science. That's where you get dumping of like construction equipment or construction materials, like brick or windows or masonry stuff. At the south end, it's a lot of just garbage and car parts. So parts of engines, tires. There's also in the summer, there's a car wash that's set up over the last couple of summers, and they've left cleaning materials and buckets and things behind. And then on the Sedgwick Avenue side, from where Reservoir where Reservoir starts up to kind of essentially Fort Independence. That's where you see all of the dumping of stuff from taxis or delivery drivers who are parked, who are emptying out for the night. So just litter, but like lots of it from a car. You see what is kind of generally believed to be homeowners who live nearby who are dumping stuff they don't want to pay to just get rid of. And then just like you'll see like a large tire or something, or an air conditioner, or a moped with no tires and things like that.
Okay.
Like around, that's the Reservoir, and just garbage. There's just litter constant. There's a chronic litter problem. I can name at least 3 people who walk the Reservoir on a weekly basis picking up garbage, who are just citizens who live nearby, who are seniors, that because there's just so much trash, they just want to do something about it.
Understood. I'll make sure to reiterate those locations over to the local level, make sure that they're keeping an eye on it. I'm not gonna get into too much detail right now, but just so you know, council members are given discretionary funds every year through the cleanup initiative, which they can either give to sanitation or to a private company. I believe I've mentioned this in the past. For the first time ever, we allowed them to use those discretionary funds not towards just extra service, but towards surveillance cameras to catch illegal dumping. So if this is something that you would like to see, you could speak to the local council member and advocate for these surveillance cameras, and we could catch some of these illegal dumpers. And we try and put comprehensive illegal dumping strategies together, whereas we don't just want to catch them, but we also want to make sure that we get the area cleaned also. So the cameras help us to identify when it's going on, and not just catch the criminals, but also to allocate cleaning resources to go pick it up and get it off the street as quickly as possible before there's more dumping. So
would those cameras be placed on the street, like where, like in relationship? I ask only because the Reservoir has places where there used to be cameras that were security cameras that have mostly been disabled. But there would seem like there would also be a security risk. I mean, there's a car right now with no plates. It's a Sprinter van that is parked in front of the gatehouse, that is abandoned. There's also a bus that's been parked since Hurricane Ida, parked in front of the gatehouse. Both of them very large abandoned vehicles. And one has plates and one doesn't. But like, I wonder if the security cameras also at JPR, if they were properly commissioned, would help for this dumping, or if it's a different channel. Like, are they 2 different systems?
yeah, this would be a system that only DSNY would have access to them. And from it's my understanding now, I don't know too much about the actual camera system themselves, but as long as there's a power source, we should be able to install the cameras there. So if that's a location that you're interested in, we could take a look at it. And then the enforcement division, along with the vendor that actually installs the cameras, they'll have to go on out there, vet the locations, take a look and make sure that it's actually feasible. But again, as a general statement, as long as there's a power source and a place to mount the cameras up high, we could probably do it.
Stephen, is this a budget request through the agency, or is it only earmarked for discretionary for councilmatic spending?
I believe it's just earmarked for council right now.
Okay. And could you get people tomorrow on those abandoned vehicles?
So the one with the plates, no, I can't do anything with the vehicle which has plates.
It's NYPD.
Correct. That would be NYPD. Yep. As far as the vehicle without plates, yes, I can request that somebody go out there tomorrow and inspect, take a look. I can't guarantee that we'll be able to remove it because it needs to fit certain criteria. Just because it's abandoned doesn't mean that it'll fit our derelict criteria. But nonetheless, I can guarantee that somebody will go out there and inspect. If it does fit the criteria, they'll tag it for removal.
Thank you. Laura, let's remember tomorrow to call up the NYPD on the one with plates, okay?
And which one was the one without the plates? Was it the van or the bus?
It's a van. I can send a picture to somebody if anybody, if you want to Bob, I'll send you a picture of it just so that I took a picture of it yesterday when I was walking around.
Deb, we appreciate you so much amplifying.
Can I have the
Yeah.
location of the abandoned vehicle with the plates?
It's in front of the gatehouse,
Which gatehouse?
the main gatehouse. It's in front of the entrance
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah, so it's right there at the intersection.
Gatehouse 5 at 220 Fifth Street. 205th Street.
205.
I'll send you a picture, Laura, so you've got, there's a.
Okay, main
it's-
gatehouse 5, 205. I just have a quick question on those
Hey,
cameras. Who's
yeah, Laura.
responsible for monitoring the cameras?
DSNY would monitor.
They do, on it, okay.
Okay. Let's, Laura, I guess we'll set up a conversation with the councilman right away. Committee, you want to do that? We need to do this?
Mhm, yeah.
Okay. So I don't know who was first, Rob or Jody with their hand up, and then David Gelman as well.
No,
Rob or Jody?
Jody and Rob were in front of me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's Rob or Jody. Which one of you went first? Do you remember?
Jody was. I kind of got lost. Are we doing comments on the chairman's report?
Just
new
comments on the
business,
chair,
and
not
old
new
business?
issues
Okay.
yet. Yeah.
So part of the DEP new structure includes a borough commissioner for us.
Hmm.
There's supposed to be a new Bronx Borough Commissioner. That was part of something that was included in that.
Has that person been named yet?
Not as far as I know, but I've not been tracking it since I sent you the press release on the combination and DEP being in charge of all the climate stuff.
Yeah.
So that was my comment on the chair's report.
We'll come
But
back,
Deb
thanks.
Deb did bring up Edsel, so I will add that in. Yes, that was repaired. I would just like to make a sort of comment about, I'm not sure how the board is tracking community complaints, but
Good question.
there was no sort of communication back to me about what was happening. So it seemed like my complaint got lost in the soup unless I constantly was emailing and asking for updates. So it did get repaired. They were actually supposed to report back. Effie at the last meeting said that she was going to report back of the results of where exactly the sewer defect was. They were opening the manholes looking for that. But now I have to put in a 311 because the plows came through and scraped away all the asphalt. There's no hole. There's a big divot because when DEP fixed it, they said they don't level it. And now there's a big divot from the plow.
So Jody, you wrote an explanation of what they did, what was repaired, and now we have a new repair to Edsel.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's DOT though. DEP won't do the street, but no, we need an update as to what where's the sewer defect and
Sure.
what's their plan to repair it.
Good question. Thank you.
Okay, I'll
Rob,
save the other stuff for business.
thank you. Yep, definitely. Rob?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that my recollection with the 242nd Street was that when they put in the bus bulb, the DOT did not allow that lane to be wide enough for a garbage truck. It isn't that there are cars in the way. It was designed without taking into consideration that the garbage trucks would have to go there.
Okay.
And so, it's something that's not going to be easily solved.
Yeah. All right. We'll circle back on that. David Gilman.
Yes, I gotta admit, I'm disgusted when I see somebody throw out a cigarette, but I just get out and out angry when I learn of organizations like construction companies that empty out their trash onto the street. So my question for you, Officer Caruso, is if I threw out a coffee cup out of my car, what would my summons be? And if I opened the door of my van and dumped out a day's worth of construction debris, what would my penalty be?
So that's actually a good question. There's a difference between improper disposal and illegal dumping. So generally speaking, improper disposal is when you walk an item or a bag to a place and just drop it there. You don't put it out with collection with your regular household garbage. You leave it on a corner or on the side of the road. Now, illegal dumping is when something comes out of a vehicle. So construction debris would be considered illegal dumping. Here's the caveat. There needs to be a certain amount of material in order for it to be considered illegal dumping. Good way of determining how much material that is if you think it could fit in a bathtub, that's enough material to be considered illegal dumping. We're talking about a $4,000 fine for a first-time offense if that person gets caught. And we're also going to impound the vehicle. So illegal dumping is taken very seriously. Improper disposal. So let's just say you were to drop that coffee cup out the window of the vehicle and we were to catch you. We would have to ask you for your ID. You would have to provide it to us willingly. And then we would issue a $100 violation.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. And of course, we're talking about the JPR issues. And right now, I'd like to thank everybody for their comments. And I want to ask for new or old business that they would like to add to tonight's agenda or discussion, just so we know. Anybody? I think. Karen, go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to add something to new business. I think we have a potential environmental justice problem concerning a potential freight train filled with maybe garbage that's going to come into our area. And I'd like to discuss that later.
Correct. Okay. Yep. Thanks. Jody, your issue?
Budget came out.
Yeah. All right, we can cry later on. Great. Okay. So Peg, and I have an issue just to get circle back on it. Deb's question and Dan Paternak's question on the connection between JPR and daylighting. So we got an explanation from DEP. We'll come back to that under old business. All right. So with that, I wanted to start our budget discussion, and that's what our focus is today. And a little while ago, we've had several meetings on flooding and the challenges that Community District 8 faces because of topography, because of highways, and because of increased and intense rainfall. So I just wanted to start with a document that I had circulated to our committee. I want to make sure I get the right one here. And talk about, that's my email. Whoop, thanks, Deb. There's your email. Get rid of that. I got to get the right document. Here we go. Okay. So what I have here is the beginning of a framework, which is a way for us to gather needs, talk about what our dangers have been, what our threats to our community have been. We've really been part of response to the superstorms that have flooded the Major Deegan and endangered life here in our area. So we also know that this flooding occurs in environmental justice areas and that have had chronic flood problems, Broadway, because of the sewer system. So this was a draft that we sent along. And so I wanted to share with everybody ways that we can organize our request for budgeting. I'd like not to make a final vote on budgeting tonight. This is more hearing from the community, hearing from you about how we can make an effective budgetary response to flooding and climate problems that are impacting our community. And what I did is just really, I think, Deb, you had emailed a couple of things. Karen, you emailed something. our BCEQ priorities that we issued after Ida. So this is just a working document and something that we can add to. So first, I guess I wanted to, before we get to the chronic sanitation garbage issues, I wanted to focus us first on water and flood problems. So take a look. Does anybody have any comments on anything written here? And we're here to take notes. Karen, I think I sent you the documents, so you don't actually need the screen, right?
Right, I don't need the screen. I have the screen. So
Okay,
I
excellent.
would like to make a change on it. So you want me to change it on mine?
Well, it should be the same one. I can see you. We can all
Oh,
see you.
oh,
This
you
is a
can see
shared
me?
document. Yeah,
Okay, so I think Hilltop 2 is, Hilltop 2 is, what do you call it? The southern part.
southern part of what?
Van Cortlandt Village.
Oh, sure. Good. Yeah, yeah.
And then Hilltop 3,
Good. Excellent.
would be the other one. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Right, Deb?
Well, is it Palisade and Capoc, or is it kind of, because that's almost the bottom of the hill?
It's
right?
actually
Or-
Capoc and Palisades.
Oh, no, that's what Deb is saying is correct. At the bottom, it should be the Hilltop is Palisade and Independence, because that's where the water is coming down from
Yeah.
along Capoc and Independence. I'm sorry.
Is
Right. Although I-
232nd the speedway there for water next to the park? I got to tell you, there is a crater caused by water at the intersection of Palisade and 232nd.
Really?
There's serious
Where-
undermining there, right along the what do you call it? The Dag Homeless, what's the forest preserve there?
Oh, the
Wallenberg.
right.
Yeah.
Tom Bird's preserve.
Yeah, Wallenberg.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's coming out of the park.
No, there's a tree came, are you talking down near Palisade? A big tree
Mhm.
came up
Yeah.
and made a big hole, which just now is eroding away and filled with water.
Yeah. Oh, oh, okay. That used to be a tree. That's okay.
If you're
Um,
talking on 232nd
am,
towards close
yeah.
to Palisade.
Yeah.
So do you
But-
want
but
to,
Ca-
does that
yeah,
go on the line? Does that go on the list?
Karen, I sent you the stormwater folder link. I don't remember what else was in there, but we got Broadway.
You got
Just so you
kind of-
know, I'm uploading a lot of the photos that I've taken over time of flooding and water rushing to put in a folder that we can share the links about, but Karen and I are still going through them. So I'll share that with the committee when I'm done. I want to add, it's not a DEP thing, but it is a stormwater. I want to add the sort of Edsel Avenue,
Yeah.
Henry Hudson Bridge, Shorefront
yeah.
Park
Mhm.
area. I am working with the Parks Department. They're coming in next week, 2 weeks, to walk through the park with me. And I did explain to them that one of the projects I wanted to do was to look at the empty stream bed and the 2 ponds that do fill with stormwater from the storm drains. So, and we talked about that because of the erosion on the road. Remember, I did the live stream of
Mhm.
how the water just corroded out the asphalt. So that's another area, and it could be a really good demonstration project for how to incorporate some water diversion into parkland.
So
Yeah.
would that be a new project? Is that something that needs to be scoped and planned? Or is this something that we could budget in a community board? Just to,
For
because we
the-
could take it
Well,
up.
it
in
could it be a
community-based
joint,
project.
like maybe it's a joint budget priority with parks too, because potentially that park could use more infrastructure. Yes, Jody?
So in anticipation of me retiring 20 years in the future, which is now, there is a budget line item that has been in there for 20 years called repair the retaining wall at the
Right.
Edsel Avenue Spite Shorefront Park Pond.
Right,
so
that's
there is a
the,
budget
that's
of
in the,
repair
it's a parks
retaining
budget.
wall at
Yeah,
Edsel.
that's number, I think it was like number 20 in Community Board 8's budget request. And the response is always the same. Discuss this with your elected officials.
Right. Do you think that there's like I mean, two things. One, to Bob's point, and to your point, probably I think too, is that maybe this is an opportunity to really think about stormwater more than the retaining wall itself. I feel like the retaining wall keeps getting into this interjurisdictional thing, and that it's like that if we asked for a renovation of the park, I don't know, I'd have to go look and see when the last time it had any capital dollars spent on it, but maybe there's that. But then there's also the thing that I was struck by is that that park and JFK High School are very close, so close to the river, and yet they're flooding. Like that there's like the water doesn't have to get that much farther away in order to go into the water, into the river itself, and that there doesn't seem to be adequate like last mile water mitigation.
Yeah, it's you can't get there from here, sort of.
Right, exactly.
And JFK, sadly, that is part of Tibbetts Brook, and they just put that water into the sewer system. They used to create a stream and a pond at JFK, and they've piped it into the sewer system now. So I think if we take these bigger picture, broader, and maybe take on these cross-agency issues. We just talked about sanitation and DEP collaborating together to get JPR cleaned up. Like, I think that could be a really great role for the community board, and especially since you've been doing a lot of joint committee meetings. It kind of is a weird jurisdiction because Edsel is part DOT road, then there's parks. Part of the lot line for the road and the park is in the park, just like with Riverdale Park. So that could be, the community board could take leadership on resolving those sort of more tricky things that then nothing gets done, because what Bob said was, 3 masters means no one is in charge.
Right, because what's really interesting about this park is there's like a real good, because it goes down, like you have this opportunity to really water, like to direct storm water to it and waterfall it down and kind of keep going to the river, right?
Yes, and not just that, the pipes from the bridge empty directly into the park. So I'm just picking up where I left off in the 90s. And if you want to learn more about it, come to Speak Up for the Green Infrastructure to Combat Climate Change presentation that I will be one of the panelists on with Karen. But like that whole idea of looking not just at like, oh, it's flooding at 2727 Palisade, but like, where is that water coming from, and what's that whole area that we should be looking at? And the same for Shorefront Park. I think there's a lot of potential in there, and Parks Department is interested in some of my ideas. So I'll report that on the Parks Committee meeting.
So I would like to make all that one thing, Bob. It's all one. Just
Yeah.
put some semicolons or something in there.
Yeah, no, this is exactly what I hoped would happen. What we're doing is putting all these agencies and areas under the water management project, that we need the agencies to realize that they're all doing the same work. So Karen and Jody, let's go tighten this up a little bit about making this both comprehensive enough as a water management project, and then detailed enough that each community board committee can see where their little priority would fall in. Like if we need a TNT priority, if we need a parks priority, if we need. So let's break this. First, let's figure out how we attack this as a water management problem, a system problem, and then let's itemize which committee can take up which priority. Okay, because
Right.
still it's going to go agency, but because as you know, the budget is directed agency to committee. So, but we can
Right.
coordinate, and I'll bring this up at exec. And I'm sure Ramdot would be interested. But if Karen and Jody can bring something that is both comprehensive and itemized per committee, we will do that. It's kind of like what we need to do, by the way, at 242nd, okay, where we have to connect daylighting north of the park, north of the overpass and south of the overpass, those DOT connections that we have to budget for.
Mhm.
Can I
So
have
this,
one more?
just a second, I want to digest all this. Karen, is Edsel Avenue part of that system that I'm
Yes,
just
the whole
talking
thing
about?
is,
All right,
yes,
so let's just,
it's all one thing.
I'm going to make a color around this so we know it's all one
Okay.
thing. That's the easiest way for me to do it. No, I don't want to do script. I want to do background. Sorry, everybody. All right. So, Jody, let me come back to you, make sure we have any other, all right, I'll do that over. I'm just having a little brain freeze now with my colors.
Right.
Were there any other areas that, any system issues like this? Because this is great. Rob, I put in, remember you sent me robots and fatbergs? You sent me that?
I had
See, I
one more
read-
system.
Okay, hold on, Jody. All right, go ahead. Give me your system, Jody.
This is again sort of a weird thing, and Deb, maybe you have this in the JFans group too. There is a tremendous amount of water that comes down through the asphalt in Henry Hudson Park. I have videos of rivers of water going into drains, but those drains are not on the sewer maps. I don't know where they go. But there's a potential to, if that is connecting to the sewer system, there's a potential to capture some of that water. It is creating erosion on the back end of the park, the Palisade Avenue side of the park. So I'm thinking of like, not just for flooding, but not just, oh, there's a problem with flooding and it's, causing difficulties, but how are we going to get some of this water out of the sewer system because of all the increased number of units that are being built in this neighborhood, which means a lot of people using water, flushing, etc. We're going to have more combined sewer overflows.
So Jody, one of the things that came up when I was reading about like the Lower East Side, the building of the new park for hurricane infrastructure and flooding to mitigate against storm surges, was that the Parks Department didn't have the technical people to maintain the new high-tech park that the fancy architect and wanted to build, right? And it seems like that maybe that's I don't know if that's an expense item, if that's just a larger problem that's to be addressed, but that it's the same in Fort Independence. Like there's places where we could capture more water better. I mean, the running track keeps running.
I
I
know.
appreciated that comment.
I told them that and they didn't listen.
So is it maybe they start every year is a little bit different, right? And so like Henry Hudson Park is one. Like, is it where you try to fund some sort of pilot project for a couple of these hilltop parks to keep more water in them? I'm sure there must be other parks but these are very specifically hilltop parks, like Henry Hudson and Fort Independence. Maybe Ewan is like this.
Any place where there's a step street, you're going to have the same problem. That's my definition of these. So one of the things that the Parks Department and everybody is supposed to do, Jody combined two different things. One is a combined sewer overflow, which we all know what that is. That's when you have the sewer and sewage going in the same pipe. But we also have, hold on one second. We also have something called a MS4, and that is a direct discharge. In the parks, those should be direct discharges, but they still have to map them. And we should try and get those maps. I don't know, maybe it's
That's
later. I
part of it,
haven't
yeah.
even looked, but it's supposed to be there. The Parks Department and every other agency who had a drain had to go around and map them as part of the complying with the federal regulations, the state and federal regulations. So we could find out what where those drains are. And like, we're gonna try and find out where those drains are in Van Cortlandt Park and where they go to.
Yeah, sure. That's a good one. So another
put down-
area,
put down
another area,
drains
Henrietta
with-
Park drain.
Right, but even if if the
can I-
Parks Department was required to
And
just
with
simply
there's
keep their
somebody else with
water
their
in the
hands up.
park.
Just 1 second, ma'am. I'll get to you in 1
Oh.
second. We're just finishing off this Henry Hudson Park
Can I
area.
make a suggestion? Going back up to, which I can't see, but I thought I saw on your document, like all of these, the Henry Hudson Park, Shorefront Park, Edsel, Palisade, Capac, Karen and I were looking at the drainage areas for the CSO pipes. Those all drain into the pipe that is at the Metro North station. So is maybe grouping them in that way, like these all
yeah.
are contributing water to this discharge.
I can
whether
do
it's-
that. I can do that. I can
Yeah.
do that. But not
But
now.
do you like that
Yeah.
idea though?
Yes,
Yeah, I do,
yes,
yeah.
I can
Follow
do
the
that, but
water,
I can't,
follow the
but I'm
water.
not gonna do it to now. We'll
No.
later.
So we're gonna follow the water, identify the discharge. That will work backwards from the discharge. That's what
Right.
we'll do.
Yes.
Right.
Work backwards from the discharge.
Good
I see your
idea.
hand up, user two.
Who is
Could you
user number
please,
2?
I know that's not your name, so unmute and introduce yourself. Hi.
It's Marie Claude. local
Marie Claude, it's
resident.
great. You've been
Marie
to a couple meetings. When are you gonna join our committee as a community member?
What?
When you come to one more meeting, you're a member of our committee, by the way. You've been to, this is your second in a row.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
It's a small thing and I could map it out. It's I'm on Bailey, so it's all those steps from the reservoir down to Bailey and on to the Deegan. They're all concrete, paved, they're waterfalls.
Yep.
Yeah,
They could
Good one.
really, on the side, instead of the pavement, that could be terraced with mulch and green and stuff like that, really. And it wouldn't be, I'd hope, not millions, but it is small, but just all those stairways can become more catching water than slides for the water.
I'm gonna put that under Hilltop 2, Southern Van Cortlandt Village, because we
Yes,
went.
we did. We mapped that, right?
We mapped every step street, Marie Claude, just so you know. What is your last name, by the way?
It's
my-
V as in Victor, UILLE.
UILLE, French, okay. Marie Claude, please accept my apologies. I'm gonna add your last name to the minutes of our last meeting. I apologize. Your first name
That's
was different than your
okay.
last name.
No
So I
problem.
think what we're talking about here is another region, and it's Bailey Step Streets.
No, I think that goes with the, it goes with that, the second one.
So,
I don't know, where is the second one? It goes with the Hilltop 2.
That's where I put it.
Southern,
just put it right
right,
there. Yep.
right, that's where it goes, right?
That's what I want,
So,
yeah. And then
from-
Bailey becomes the catchment for Hilltop 2 because everything goes down into Bailey.
So you
Um,
have all those steps. There's from Sedgwick down to Kingsbridge, there's the
Okay.
Summit Avenue.
Right.
There's another huge one to Heath, I think, from.
Right,
I don't
Heath,
know
right.
where, Sedgwick.
Summit, Heath,
They
and
all-
then the
yep.
one at, what's it called? Not Cat,
There's there's
Olaf,
229.
Olaf, 3900 Olaf.
There's that one too, yeah. They could all be lovely with terraces.
Hey, you know what?
Right.
Is there, we need to make a unified presentation to a city council hearing on the budget on this, because this is, the systems approach that we're adopting here, interagency, It's going to be hard to do this in a community board framework because they literally divide you by agency. You go to a Zoom room or to a real room by agency. So if there is, I'm thinking this mayoral office may have, if there is a budget place, this is great stuff because this is really exactly what we need under this aegis of climate, right? Resilience.
Well, and also, I think it's probably worth pointing out that several of these step streets are already on the, either already on, or I've highlighted them to go on
Yeah,
to the
okay.
budget priority list for
Okay.
TNT.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to use
So
another color for another zone. You can see that this is.
I know that they've been traditionally putting big tree catchment, like a big kind of circle that so that the water can traverse there.
Right,
Yeah.
But often the steps are stone. I mean, they're
right.
not going anywhere.
Do you want to
But-
put our is the Deegan? You all know that the Deegan is both a victim, you know, area of flooding and also contributor to runoff and flooding. Is this part of this zone, or do we want to keep that separate?
It's gonna be part of the zone, but it's like, goes the other, another
We'll-
direction,
Yeah. Okay.
and another depth.
Well, it's basically, if you don't
By the
catch
way,
the water
ROW,
at Bailey,
everybody
then
means.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna end up on the Deegan, right,
All
right,
right, I'm going to add that to this.
okay.
All right. Good. All right, another zone. Yeah, David, your hand's up.
Yeah, if I may interject, Marie-Claude, if, I don't know if you've gone across Broadway over to Riverdale Avenue to Ewan Park, the step street there.
Yeah, we're including all step streets.
Well, no,
Yes,
no,
I
right.
have, yes.
Okay,
yes.
I just wanted to point out the idea that you're talking about, on the sides of the stairs, is a cobblestone sort of rivulet on each side, which is meant for drainage. And it actually, one really cool thing about it is they have these bronze salmon that are theoretically swimming upstream. It really looks cool, but it's also functional. And I thought if you had not seen it, you'd like to see it in the context of what you're suggesting. It's one of my favorite things in our parks.
Oh, okay, I'll have a look. I saw the restoration of the steps in Inwood from Broadway to Park Terrace East. They could have put even more green, but they have trees growing in the middle section and these, as Deborah was saying, these round wells. I mean, it's plantings, it's terraced, it's beautiful.
Mhm.
All right, good.
Since we're talking about Ewan, I do believe that there is money to rebuild those stairs. It's 20 years since I got the grant, the money through Councilwoman Island to redo them. And
You got
now
that
I
money?
believe, yes, Francis
Jesus.
and I used to do Ewan Park. We pruned all those trees. We had events there all the time. I was there when Henry Stern, I was at the groundbreaking when Henry Stern came up with the salmon swimming upstream because we walked up those stairs.
I have literally seen those from the early 60s, Jody. I can't believe that was you. That was
So,
one of those moments where I thought, wow, the city of New York is not going down the tubes.
so, but that's an opportunity because David, what Marie-Claude is talking about is that the sides of those step streets look exactly like Ewan Park. It's cobblestones that are funneling the water and making floods. There's no
Mhm.
greenery on the sides like on that Park Terrace step street. That's also very steep, but they did a really great job with putting plants in.
Okay.
I see.
So do you want to put Ewan Park because is there road issues and GI issues that we're dealing with, or is this just a parks issue? And DOT with the step streets?
Yeah, I think Ewan is 100% parks.
Okay. All right. Everybody, I put NYCHA and I'm next to Broadway. Let's turn our attention to Broadway for a second. We all know Broadway's sewer problems, right? And we're working with Bailey and Deb. We're gonna be partners with anything that comes out of TNT on Bailey, any right of way. And also sewer catchment, we have to always put that in, right? So that's kind of like a constant. I just gotta say that I'm gonna put that in caps, sewer maintenance. What's that called? Storm basin. Karen, what's the name of that? Remember you had that modified storm basin that you showed us? Well, remember that?
Oh, the one with the, it has like a grate in the front of it,
Yeah,
so that the garbage doesn't go down the drain, but sits at the, outside. I don't know what
okay.
it's called. It's the new version of a storm drain.
Okay, if we get a name for him, we'll track it down. And
I could get a picture.
especially used, yeah, I have a picture, but where, if it's used in the city of New York.
It is used in the city of New York. I've seen it in other places.
Excellent. All
So I
right.
can make a little a commercial too. Besides the speak up, I'm also speaking tomorrow at Deb's meeting on green infrastructure.
Oh, well, this is exactly what we're doing here. Yep.
Yes, right.
By the way, another commercial, running a workshop on the Greenway, Harlem River Greenway from Van Cortlandt Park to 132nd Street at Speak Up. So I hope all of you who are interested in Greenway and the connection between communities will make it there. All right, this is excellent. So what I did, let's talk about Marble Hill now, Broadway and Night Show. Okay. We had some beginning of some great ideas about Lower Broadway now. We're dealing with, I guess, Upper Broadway and Mid Broadway. We have had GI, we haven't had a
We didn't
GI.
really talk about Broadway because Broadway is pretty level. And so
True.
when I looked at the
Yeah.
topography of all the streets, when they're level, it's because, you know, or just a little bit below the others, it's one thing. And so I think you have to see how far you can go with the upland before you even talk about what you need in Broadway. And if you combine doing stuff on the hill all the way down, from the hill all the way down to where Broadway and the Major Deegan is, hopefully whatever we do with green infrastructure will
Yeah,
take care of the problem.
right. So that was so.
Daylighting.
Yep. So that, yeah, we'll put that. Yeah, that's a daylighting is, yeah, this is.
But Broadway, Broadway also has specific issues of its own. There are drainage pipes coming off the platforms at 231st Street
Yes.
and Broadway. There's a pipe that just pours out water. And that contributes to the flooding. There's also
Where's that pipe again, Jody? Could you repeat that?
It's Broadway and 231st. It's on the iron pole that holds up the staircases to the subway.
And I believe there's one at 238th Street also, but I don't know which side.
So that contributes to the flooding on Broadway. There's a lot of flooding between 234th, where the
Staples.
bakery is.
Right. But you see, what I think, Jody, is I think we don't know if it's flooding, natural flooding from the environment, or if the sewers are clogged with water from all along Broadway, from the Tibbetts Brook going in it. So if you theoretically, if you remove all of that water, we're talking about the budget of water. If you remove all that water from the drain, and the drain gets to work as it should have been when it was put there in the first place, then maybe that's enough, but I don't know.
I think that it's more than that. I think
But you certainly can't
is-
start at the bottom of the hill, because then you won't get anywhere.
Right. But literally, you said Broadway's flat, but the road itself, I think that, because if that's what it was, Karen, the water would drain after the rain. But there are standing water puddles on Broadway between like 231st towards 234th, quite a long time after the storm, and they're not draining into the storm drains because the road edges are worn down from all the trucks. And so there's these depressions that hold water, and there's no place for it to go until it evaporates. So that's part of some of the water problems there and what the flooding is, because the water gets caught in these pockets, and the same thing happens up near the community garden at NYCHA Marble Hill. There's pockets of water that just stay there for days and days and create floods. You can go right now to Broadway and I forget the name of it. It used to be La Paria. They have the outdoor dining thing. There's a huge puddle right there.
What's
So
that cross street? Is that 225th or 228?
So 230 between like 234th and 231st, near the 230th, near the post office, down near Garden, right before Garden Gourmet, near the bakery, at the bottom of that step street. And then on the other side of Broadway, where Marble Hill houses are, between 230th and 228th. There's a community garden right there.
Okay. Pooling. Okay.
Yeah, so you know, so if that's the sewers backing up, then because they're clogged from trash, but it still just sits there. So that's something to look at.
No, I don't think they're clogged from trash. I think they're clogged because they're supercharged. They're overcharged. There's way too much water going in the sewers. The sewers are too hard to expand. And so we have to find ways of absorbing it on the upland. And
Okay.
and so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, all these things, and also maybe the transportation people have to do stuff to the street. Maybe it's not, what is that called? Crowned at the right point.
This is so important because the hills, this is a revelation to everybody through Ida, that when you have a hill, you are flood prone. People think of flood prone as being depressed or below grade, but when you have hills, you create velocity of water that supercharges sewers and creates all kinds of hazards. So, yeah,
I'm just gonna.
we are going to go down.
Let's do a time check. It's 8 o'clock, so just.
I just want to, this has been fantastic, and I want to close out our discussion of stormwater by turning to sanitation requests. Stephen, you've been here and listening to our post-IDA budgeting, and I hope you can see the kind of comprehensive approach we're looking at, and also tell everybody how conscientious and local, hyper-local we're being about flood mitigation. But it's a huge thing, and it does include garbage pickup because along Broadway, which, as you know, the floatables are a major issue. So, are there issues that Stephen, would you like to tell us local priorities that you know about that you're in need of, and then I'm sure we'll have some feedback from our community right now.
Okay. So I took a look back on some of the old requests that we had made and what we had spoke about several years back.
Yeah.
I also connected with the local level as well to see maybe if they had any recommendations. And any recommendations that I make, I am also going to give my personal opinion also.
Okay.
So,
Shoot.
and then I'll let you discuss it and decide what it is that you want to do. Here we go. I would like to advocate to keep the curbside organics collection. The reason why I say that is because a couple years back when we had budget cuts due to COVID, the organics program was one of the first programs that we cut. The reason for that was because it was not a citywide program. It was within specific districts. So that was obviously one of the first ones that had to go. Seeing as we have to finalize the budget for the next upcoming fiscal year, I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen, what type of shape we're going to be in. I think everybody's just kind of anticipating the worst and hoping for the best. So with that, if this is a program that you would like to see stay in place, I say advocate for it. Make sure that your voices are heard. With that comes outreach for organics because we're a data-driven city. We want to make sure that the weights are up and we could justify keeping the program online So
So that would include not just a pickup, but you're talking about advocates to inform community members how to sign up because it's
correct,
customer driven.
outreach.
Yeah,
That's right.
okay.
Yep, how to sign up, just outreach to folks, letting them know the benefits of organics collection and sustainability and why it's important. And, behavior is something that can be changed, but it's difficult. So people are used to doing things a certain way and they don't participate in the organics program. We'd like to tell them why
Along
they
those
should.
lines, yeah, people do things a certain way. The city of New York keeps cutting recycling. That's a pattern that's a behavior pattern that I'd like to interrupt. But keep going. This is a good one, Stephen. What's your next one? This is excellent.
Okay, and I don't know if you wanted to group that together or make them two separate requests.
Yeah,
But
we'll
in any
figure it
case,
out. Yep.
okay. Of course, cleaning services. So litter basket collection. We want to make sure that we have adequate service, right? So if we don't, that's going to lead to overflowing baskets, which leads to dirty curb lines, which leads to areas that may be uninviting to potential customers for commercial corridors and businesses. And let's not forget that the onus for cleaning the curb line and the gutter has always been on the property owners and the business owners. So if those overflowing baskets create litter, and folks don't move for the mechanical broom to clean the street, that may result in violations being issued to businesses and or homeowners. So additional litter basket service. Let's definitely put that on the list.
Excellent.
MLP, and I know we had gone back and forth
Well, we
about this,
love MLP, or we remember MLP very well.
right? So I think we actually joked around last time. Was it manual litter patrol or motorized litter patrol?
We did.
But in any case, we want it. And this ties into the illegal dumping. So remember how I had said it's nice to catch the illegal dumpers? We have them on video and we could use that to prosecute them. Well, it's also nice to get all of these dump outs cleaned up as quickly as possible, because as we know, that just attracts more illegal dumping and more behavior that is undesirable. So we want MLP. MLP is going to be the function that goes out and picks up all the illegal dumping and some of the larger dump outs and maybe some of the improper disposal of electronics or bags or whatever it might be that ends up on the side of the road. Manpower. I believe that this is something that we had mentioned in the past as well. Again, we don't know what's going to happen with the new budget. We did hire 900 sanitation workers last year, which was great. So as of right now, we're really in a good place. But between retirements and folks being out sick due to
Oh, I
COVID,
remember this.
we've
Yeah.
seen spikes in COVID over the past couple of years. And at one point, our numbers were at 25% of our agency out sick. And then with Omicron, again, we were up hovering around that same number. So we want to make sure that we have enough personnel, especially during the winter, when we have pending snowstorms. So let's advocate for that as well.
So you're feeling it, and the city of New York is seeing it in not sufficient pickup, dirty streets.
I will say that we are in a better place than we were.
Okay.
With the additional 900 sanitation workers, it helped. But then again, the vaccine mandate, we had some folks which felt as though the vaccine wasn't necessarily something that they wanted to do. And with that, they are on leave without pay. So.
Oh, you have some attrition. Wow. Amazing. Well, we're glad you're here, Stephen. We're glad you're back. Keep going. You're on a roll, Stephen.
Okay. Of course, a lot of our facilities are old and in need of facelift. So we would love it if you could help us to have Bronx 8 Garage rehabilitated.
Okay.
That's a
put
big
that in
ask.
last time. Is that it? Where's that? 218?
215th Street, yeah.
215th. Okay.
Two
And-
fifteen
That
and what?
Manhattan?
And what's that street? I forget the street.
Yeah, what is
It's
that?
on 215th Street off of Broadway.
Indian Point Road, whatever it is, right across from
Okay.
Bakersfield.
Right.
Okay, so those are the big asks.
Yeah.
I do have a small ask, and this is really from the local level.
Good.
They had asked if you could advocate for more hardware for us and just supplies to keep the operation going. They may need some electronics. I don't know if we could slip that in, but if
What
we
was
could
the
come
name of
with-
that?
Are we talking
um,
about communications? Communications?
Sure, yep, communications, that works.
What about the holsters? Remember the smaller pickup vehicles for narrow roads? Did you get them? What happened to those? We put that in last year.
So I spoke to the local leadership, and they felt as though the equipment that we have right now is adequate. The holsters were for snow removal.
Correct.
Yes, so they're saying that we're okay with what we have right now.
Okay. Yeah, okay, good. Community, what would you like to see in additional service from sanitation, DSNY? Jody, shoot.
Of course, as I shared with Bob and Karen, the curbside expansion has been suspended. That was in the mayor's budget that was just posted online this
The
afternoon.
expansion of it, the
The expansion of it, yeah. Expansion of curbside has been suspended, so it's pretty much whatever districts have it, that is it. So let's again put in, it looks like it's suspended through fiscal year 26. So I know that Bronx Community Board 8, when I was with the compost project staff, did put that in a number of times. So if you can resubmit that for curbside expansion. It's unclear whether they will continue to allow new people in our district to sign up. Steve, do you know about anything about that?
Whether it's still open?
Yeah, whether
I think it's
people,
rolling. Yeah, we can
Well,
still add people to
let's
districts
see
that
what
already have it.
but things have changed now. This just got posted, and so did you
So-
hear anything about that?
I knew that moving forward, they were going to suspend the expansion, but being that Bronx 8 already has curbside organics, I'm sure that we could probably add locations to the current routes. I don't want to say for sure. I'm going to take that back and get you a more definitive answer. But if we already have organics collection in the district, as long as we could absorb any additional locations into the current routes, I don't see that being a problem.
Excellent, thank you. And
Mhm.
then, of course, even though no longer pays my bills, community composting has taken another hit. I haven't gone through the line items yet, like I normally do, because it just came out. But it, for those of you who don't know, I do 4,000 pages of the budget, and I look at every line for DEP and sanitation and the Parks Department.
We didn't even have a whole day. We didn't even have a
Yeah,
whole day. It was
I
only
know.
a couple of
Yeah,
And we
a
have
hours.
to
couple
go
of
through
hours.
capital commitment too.
I haven't even
So-
gotten it.
So
Oh, we've been on it all day, David. Texting back
So-
and forth. I'm not kidding.
So and you've put this in as a request before, restoring community composting to its pre-COVID funding levels. It was cut entirely for fiscal year 21, but the community, somebody rallied the community and it was partially restored. The funding was 7 million for the 7 compost projects and Grow NYC. According to the new budget, it looks like it's 3.5 million. It looks like it's been halved again.
Jody,
So
let's say it out loud. It was you, and
what?
it was you who helped rally and restore, and it was us, our
I
committee.
put my cape and sword on.
We gave testimony at midnight.
So the testimony has
Steven,
not been, people have not testified on these things yet, so
Not yet
Yeah,
this year.
this is just out. It's the preliminary
Yes.
budget. There's no
Right.
Wait a
hearings
minute.
yet. The city council still has to report, the city council. This is the time to start poking Eric because the city
I-
council has to
yeah.
put their 82 cents in. But
Jody-
Stephen, we're making a joke about it because I was New York Botanical Garden staff and you are not allowed to advocate. And I was fully funded by sanitation, not allowed to advocate. So they were like, don't tell me what you're doing on your time off. So,
Jody, that's
um,
composting education, correct? Training and
yeah,
education?
composting education or
Okay.
community composting. We should have our own community compost facility. It was supposed to be at the Bronx 6 Mechanical Broom Depot. I got that lot. Bridget said yes, but that was yanked because some roof caved in Bronx 3 and they were using it for parking. So, those two things for composting would be great. The street baskets, I didn't look, but that usually gets cut. So we should look through the budget for street baskets, definitely. And those were the only sanitation things that I was looking at, unless what are our cleanliness ratings? Do we need to have more cleanings, or are we doing okay still for street sweeping?
Into that. Let me check into the street sweeping especially with all those cafes on the streets. That's gonna be different.
And then excuse me while I scroll. I'm trying to find there was a head count reduction through the PEG program. So it looks like driving training adjustment lost 107 uniformed. The organics program lost 161 uniform. I guess they're just going to use them to fill in those vacancies that you mentioned. I don't know what this is. Splinter group reduction. Administrative staff, 37 uniformed. Vacancy reduction, 188 C. I guess that's citizen or civil service. 300. So the total is 305 uniform positions and 188 civil service positions were reduced in the PEG, the program to eliminate the gap. I haven't looked at the line items to see if there were any more cuts, but that's my update.
All right.
And my requests.
One thing under sanitation, it's really a DEP. We want DEP. Let's check on I remember we spent a lot of time, remember Karen, on the DEP maintenance contracts around the reservoir, which is a sanitation issue. And
if I may interject for just 1 second.
Sure.
Just because you were asking about splinter groups. So splinter groups are going to be some of the units that are not necessarily involved in the household collection of trash and recycling and the major cleaning functions like litter basket service and MLP, but units like the lot cleaning unit. So that's the unit that goes out and maintains all the
We need
city-owned
them.
units. Right, exactly.
That's perfect. Thank you. Two hands, David, and then back to Jody. Am I missing anybody else? I just wanted to make sure everyone gets their.
Nope, that was still up, not me. I'm done.
Okay, David?
Yes, Officer Caruso, I think it'd be helpful if you could be a little bit more explicit about hardware for operations and communications, like outfit all 10 vehicles with GPS or 20 sets of handheld point-to-point radios or whatever. But I think it's a little bit too nebulous to put in a budget request.
Okay, I'll find out exactly. desktop computers in particular were the ask. But I'll find out if there's any other needs as well that maybe we can incorporate into the bigger ask.
For the district office?
And quantities if you can. Two
You got it.
PCs, 12 PCs, whatever.
Understood.
For the district office, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right, that helps. Okay. So I'd like to close out our budget discussion and get us a plan. We will be back on this in April for a vote, and we will distribute and make, well, first we got to do a lot of planning and coordinating. Deb, I think what we'll do, and any other person from other committees, we'll check in with you, and feel free to share everything you've heard here about with other committees about how we can coordinate. David will bring up this coordinated approach to approach water issues at the exec, and talk about how it might be tactical to double up or triple up on committee requests that address a systemic issue. And I think we're done with our budget discussion for today. Laura Spalter.
Any discussion on the budget for CSX? Putnam South? That possibly you were going to.
acquire? Well, we have.
Well, I
daylight
don't know.
at
I
the-
mean, this is
Yeah.
what I thought you might
Oh,
discuss.
on
with-
the DEP side.
No, I
yeah,
think
or-
you mean the park side, don't you?
Well, I mean,
No,
Because
are you doing a joint? Are you?
65 million.
they have
Right.
two different budgets. They have two different budgets. So
Okay.
Hawks
So-
has a budget of 36 million
Yeah,
and
yeah, no, but-
has a budget of 100 and whatever the difference is.
yeah, 60 something.
No,
Okay.
100.
For context, I know that on the park side, Stephanie already asked for some equipment for maintaining the Putnam Greenway. Since this is fiscal year 24 budget stuff. So we put in the Parks Committee, we put some equipment for maintenance of the park. And I think that probably in the TNT Committee, we'll probably have something maybe about the connecting points, like just funding for connections to the sidewalk at various to be determined intervals.
So that may be DEP money, Deb, is what I'm saying.
Right,
Um,
so we could do a
so-
joint thing there too. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm adding that. I'm gonna make this blue, obviously, for daylighting. But I'm gonna look back at the, I'll put in a query to the new project manager about that, Deb. And we definitely have to piggyback on that. That was very clear in the daylighting meeting we held. So that's gonna be blue for daylighting, okay?
Mhm.
We're gonna come back to that. So I'd like to, this is gonna take a little work, so I'll show you, we'll do another draft of this at our next meeting and vote in August.
I threw the attendance in, so it's all in one folder.
Yeah, got it, Karen. Thanks so much. Yeah. All right, Stephen, I want to thank you, and I hope you had a good time again. It's always great to see you, and congratulations on moving up the ladder. And you're always welcome to whatever we're doing, and spread the word about the good work we're doing.
Hey,
Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
Can I ask
Oh,
a
wait a
new
minute, we have
business
a new
question?
business issue for you. Don't leave.
Sure,
New
yeah.
business question? Karen, you were mentioning trash trains. My understanding is that our waste goes into train cars that come down past my house and then go up to Selkirk.
No, I don't
to
think it's our
cross over?
trash. It's not our trash. I think it's commercial trash.
Do you know, is that in your
Steve, it's the
wheelhouse?
trash that goes to waste management.
Yeah,
There's
so
like 100-car train that comes by here every night filled with trash, big green trash.
I'll find out for sure, but most of our trash goes to our transfer stations, and we put the garbage on barges and remove it that way. So most likely it is commercial trash, not ours, but I will find out for sure.
Thank you.
It goes by me, so I think it's coming from Yonkers or above, and it's been doing it for many years.
Oh, yeah.
No, it goes all the way up to Selkirk, I think.
Yeah, it goes
all
up
the
to
way up-
Selkirk because that's the only place it can cross over to
Right.
head south.
Right. I have a whole discussion on that when we get to new business, which first we have to go to old business.
Okay, so I'm gonna just start old business off. Remember at the daylighting meeting that there was a question about the connection between the JPR and daylighting, and there was a pipe. Okay, so I'm gonna read you back from what I learned from, her name is Kristen Ricagliano, who is the new project manager taking over for Tolga. The JPR connection is part of the Tibbetts Daylighting Resource Project. Currently, the Bureau of Water Supply discharges JPR blow-off, okay, to the Wards Island sewer. That's the sewer, as you know, that runs, Tibbetts Brook runs through during dry weather only. The pipe, so this is part of what they're already doing. The pipe that connects JPR to the Broadway sewer would intersect the open channel daylighted as part of the Tibbetts Brook plan. As part of the overall plan, the city is proposing to build a chamber at the intersection of the open channel to allow for clean water from JPR. I got cut off here. I got to go back to the original email. I'm sorry. I printed it out. It didn't make it. So I'm going to stop sharing. Thanks. Okay. I'm going to, let me get the correspondence. The clean water, so the benefits of this chamber would prevent clean water from JPR going to the treatment plant that's backing up to the treatment plant, which increases capacity and reduces greenhouse gas emissions. Allow for drawdown, which can be especially helpful during a storm. Before a storm, okay, that's what, oh, interesting. And help with dry weather flow augmentation to Tibbetts. So there's a normal occurrence during dry weather, and they are going to be building a chamber which is at the intersection of the sewer and the open channel. The clean water from JPR would supplement stream flows during dry weather. Overall, this tie-in is designed as a holistic water resource to better the area. Okay, so I sent that to the committee. I hope everybody had a chance to look at it. Are there any comments on that? Is there anything we need to know more about?
I think this is a good thing. And
I do too.
they're talking about the treatment plant, meaning the sewer treatment plant that all the water goes to normally.
Oh, you're saying not going back to,
It's not the filtration plant, it has nothing to do with the Croton.
Right, it's
okay.
not the drinking water, it's the
It's
wastewater.
not it's a wastewater, right?
Let me reread that. It was cut off in my printout. As part of the overall plan, the city is proposing to build a chamber at the intersection of the open channel and the pipe to allow for the clean water from Jerome Park Reservoir to flow into the channel during dry weather. The benefits of this chamber would prevent clean water from JPR going to the, it's not treatment plant, but the water treatment plant, right?
Yes, right.
Which increases capacity and reduces greenhouse. Okay, allow for drawdown operations to increase capacity and help with dry weather.
That may have been the confusion, that they thought it was going to the treatment plant.
Yeah, the clean water from JPR would supplement stream flows during dry weather periods and help support. Okay, all right, so we like this, and it was a clear answer. Laura, I will read this again at whenever you want, because it's come up at, I believe, at the full board meeting. And so now I want to go to new business.
Or you could just put it in your minutes and tell everyone to refer to them. Whatever you choose.
Thank you. I can just copy and paste. Thank you, Laura. All right, new business. Who's up?
So me, do I go?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a little problem with the area from 230th Street South to 225th Street, which is the end of Community Board 8. It's also known as, or was once known as, Kingsbridge Road. So that particular area on the railroad side, not where the stores are, that's where the milk plant used to be. That particular area where the railroad is owned by, according to the deed records, Metro North. But we have heard we try to avoid it, but we can't because everybody keeps saying, no, this is really a problem. We have heard rumors that Metro North wants to use that area for storage of freight train. And so if you look at it now, based on the pictures that the DEP took when they were doing the planting, the directions for the greenway to go all the way to the Harlem River, they're only allowed to go underneath with a pipe. And so we kind of knew that that was happening, but they won't let the pipe go down too low. The pipe is only allowed to go, it's still like 4 to 6 inches above grade and a little bit below grade, but it's above grade. But they will not allow anybody to walk or ride their bicycles on what we thought was going to be a greenway, because they're going to store this freight train or freight trains there. So just so everybody knows, Metro North is a commuter rail. Putnam Trail was a commuter rail, except for what they delivered to Stella Doro. And the only other thing that we do with freight trains on that rail is garbage. And so that's why it's here in sanitation. And I think this is adjacent to Marble Hill and Bailey Avenue and Kingsbridge Road on the other side. And these are both EJ areas according to every kind of map. And I just found the New York State map, which has all the potential EJ areas in it. In addition, I was like noticing like why all of a sudden are they thinking about storing the garbage here? And so I'm thinking they have a lot of garbage. That's why they have to store the garbage up north. We did have this problem a couple of years ago. And I think when Bob was the chairperson, and we managed to solve that problem. They were actually standing also next to Marble Hill.
They were running diesel engines, Karen.
They are always going to be running diesel. That's what they run. But so Dart was on some train and he said he looked over by Oak Point and the whole place is filled with garbage trains just sitting there. They have so much garbage that they can't get them going because it's a commuter rail and they can't use it all the time. But I just want to bring it to the attention of the committee, and I think it's not a really good thing. I am also looking at the permits for Waste Management, who takes care of all this garbage that comes from commercial places. And it seems that if you look at the numbers, and I mean, I only looked at them quickly because today was a busy day. We are, of course, getting an inequitable amount of garbage in the city of New York and maybe from other places. So
Thanks, Karen. So Laura and Karen and I are discussing this. It's come up. This is that we've been aware of a refurbished area and potential garbage storage for a couple of weeks, and we have to start how to prevent this before it happens. And there's so many things wrong with this. If you think about it, just the air quality will suffer because of those emissions and the stalling. There's all kinds of legal problems about a freight train using commuter property, and the relationship between MTA and easement that they would have to give CSX to that, deeded to MTA, and also just the peril and the sabotage of a continuous greenway, because it is true that the Parks Greenway ends at 230th, according to our 2010 ULURP, but that is still a DEP easement that they're seeking and could be used for a bicycle transportation corridor or a greenway if it was not for this track. So,
and don't forget to mention the item that's in the ULURP concerning the fact that this has nothing to do with the ULURP, but they have an agreement with Metro North that after 2014 or 2013, they're not going to be using this property anymore. And
forgot about that.
And it's going to be able to go to parks. And so there was this kind of agreement, and they reneged on that without even reneging on it, just because they're going to just do it without telling us. But we have good reason to believe that this rumor is true. And the person who told us was like frantic.
Yeah.
Tell us who the person.
So committee, would you like to have this on the agenda at a future date? We think this is really worth discussing, and I think it's some real issue for the Marble Hill community. This is going to be parked in front of them, and anybody who cares about daylighting and the greenway needs to hear about this. Laura, is your hand up from last time, or do
Oh,
you
no,
have?
that was from before, from Greenway.
All right.
question. Okay.
And I remember when I was chair, and Laura says I was ENS chair, but I think Sergio Marquez was the leader on this, and we worked together very closely, obviously, because it was such a hot button issue with ENS dealing with the railroad. So this is right in our wheelhouse.
Yeah. Well, and just the storing of garbage at that scale, there's got to be smell considerations, rat considerations.
Yeah, all the things.
It's in our economic hub, and
Right.
that it's that any water. I mean, it's just that any rain will wash whatever's in those trains through the trains and then right into the Broadway corridor flooding we just talked about, or kind of into the Harlem River. It just seems like you shouldn't be putting that kind of material next to the Harlem River.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So this would be a single issue. This would have a lot of community input and participation. Jody, how do you, what's,
I kind of feel like this is a prime EJ issue. Forget the Greenway for a minute, because the original state committee that I was on proposed that the Greenway be on top of the DEP pipe.
yeah, yep.
But I think the biggest issue is this is right behind Marble Hill houses.
Emissions, yes, it's incredible.
This is just adding more of the things that they don't want in other neighborhoods into that neighborhood, because who's paying attention? And I think that Community Board 8 really is the only voice that they're going to have.
Yeah, we're on it.
And
We're on it. We're on it.
so the EJ issue is a big one when it comes to trash, because
Definitely.
that's why we used to say don't dump on the Bronx.
I just need, we just need to find some kind of other party to talk to about this. We really know we can't have it, we won't tolerate it. And we know the community that we need to mobilize. We just need somebody to talk to on the other side. Marie Claude, your hand is up.
Oops. The person who chairs the housing committee, is he not from Marble Hill?
Yes, correct. Yep.
And does he know about this?
No, we're
Okay.
not, we don't really know anything about it. All we know is that the tracks, the area has been refurbished, and they are, we need to just get confirmation on that it is planned. So we need a conversation with CSX, MTA, both of them.
Why don't you refer it to your, what is that committee called that you have?
The racial equity,
Yes,
well, we'll definitely do a joint with them.
yes.
I'll let them know about this. But we need some help getting into MTA and figuring out what the hell is going on. What is
I
the
think
plan?
we should have like a little semi-hearing and have the people from the neighborhood come and say what they think about it. And
Well, we have to first
make
confirm
it-
that there's an it.
you don't want, you're gonna know about it when it's done.
I know, all right. Well, but what I'm foreseeing is that kind of hearing, a single issue meeting, a public hearing on an EJ in why this is bad for the Marble Hill community. So we will look for this on the agenda. Okay, we're gonna keep this up.
It's not is there a world where it's like a coastal resiliency issue? I mean, it's like there's the garbage stuff, but there's also
Well,
just
everything is
access to the
resilient.
shoreline and the park.
Everything eventually comes down to this, but I
Yeah.
think the thing is peril to our most vulnerable populations. And really, I think putting garbage right in the middle of an EJ community just speaks for itself. As soon as elected officials get wind of this, it's well, they're going to be real help in digging out what's happening.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for hearing that out, Karen. Thanks for bringing that to committee. Was there any other new business? There's one little item I forgot to do. We need a vice chair. Laura, are you still here? Laura, do you want to be vice chair? Anybody? Jody, do you want to be vice chair?
I'm not even a committee member.
Oh, there you go. I see. I'm going around. Courtney, it may have to come to you. I have to comply. Thanks, Courtney. All right, thanks a lot. Okay, there being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I want to thank everybody for a fantastic meeting. Wasn't it nice to work together and have color-coded discussions? It's really fun. Thank you all. We got a
Very
lot
nice.
done.
Great to see everybody. Great
Good
to
to see
see
you.
everybody.
Yes,
Really
same here.
fun.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Night, everybody.
Okay.
Good
Good
night.
night. Good night. Good night. Bye. See you tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.
Take care, Stephen.
Good
Good to
night,
see you.
Steve. Thanks
Bye,
for
Robert.
coming.
Good night. Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you for coming. I see. He just left.
Where is Ice?
Okay.
Oh, he left.
He just
Okay.
left. I
All
don't
right.
like him not
Okay.
speaking. All right, I'll
All
talk
right.
to you later, Karen. Good meeting.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Very good meeting. Bye.